This podcast is brought to you by the Disabled But Not Really Foundation, a local Kansas City nonprofit organization that pushes to instill a physical limitless mindset that breeds courage, confidence, and competence within the disabled community. You can follow and support Disabled But Not Really on social media or go visit their website at disabledbutnotreally.org. Their work and their mission is to really impact communities and make more people understand the benefits of inclusivity.
Yeah. All right, so welcome to Open Up Sunday Safe Spaces. This is part of an initiative that came about during quarantine, and like Andre and I, our boys decided during everything that was going on. Our sons have been in South Hills of Pennsylvania together, literally at times just the only two Black boys here in their classes. But, when George Floyd happened and just everything went down and the boys were home and they were not excited about being home and stuck studying and with us, it just resonated. And Reese, Andre has a son, his name is Reese, who's at Howard. But Reese and Khalil were talking, and Reese was like, we need to do something. And so Khalil, Reese, Quentin, one of their classmates, and a young man, a Jewish guy, is it Jake? Yep. Decided to have a peaceful protest in our community. And the parents, we tried to stay out of it. We were like, okay, you guys do whatever. Well, it created a lot of discussion and dissension in our community, and we had to get involved. And Andre, I have to say publicly, I appreciate you for stepping up, because, none of us really, none of us knew how to navigate it. We tried to let the boys take it on themselves.
Right.
And they spoke to the police. They did all these things. So Andre took the role of like, okay, I will be that front person to support them. And it turned out to be beautiful. It turned out to be challenging. But I think that's also a great example of why we need Black men in leadership.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that. And in the midst of all of that, I continue to recognize, like, we have trauma. We have suffered for trauma. We live through trauma as Black Americans. And my field is healing and health and wellness. And I was an educator and I have all this experience, but I don't see myself reflected in the classes I've taught from California to Atlanta to here. And so I decided to offer free yoga classes, free mindfulness practices, free meditation for Black folks. And I also was invited by Lululemon to write a grant, and we wrote a grant, and I co-wrote it with Open Up. They were the nonprofit that took me in and said, yes, we can write this grant together. And so we received a large grant from Lululemon to work with Black and Indigenous people of color and to offer panels like this. So that's how Open Spaces came about, so that we can go into spaces and offer healing and mindfulness and centering activities and teach very practical ways to help people heal and begin to process everything that has been going on. Because it's been going on forever, but it seems like it's definitely been compressed in these last 2 years. So that's how Open Spaces came about. Open Up does the work to bring centering and healing practices through the arts, through mindfulness for those with disabilities. And so we recognize like the intersection of all of that, because we are not just one monolithic human race. We have a variety of experiences, a variety of bodies, a variety of concerns for men and for women, for those who are of all abilities. So that's why we're here together. Amy froze for a second, so we're going to get her reconfigured. And then I would like to give all of you a little 2-minute time to introduce yourself. Wes, hi.
What up? What up? How are you? How's everybody doing? Oh my God. You know what? It is amazing that we do have you guys on the platform today to really speak about Black men in leadership. You know, it is, we got 28 days. That's the best way I could put it. So, yeah, man, once we get Amy unfrozen, because we need that. I don't know what we need to do. Is that a reset, April?
Marissa is working on the back end with that. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, all right. So April, when we getting on this Clubhouse though, I mean, literally, like I'm on it all the time, so I need you on here with me.
I know. I thought about that. I don't know if you guys are doing this Clubhouse app, but
we do. Actually, Chaz, man, what's up, man? Nice to meet you. We do this group on Friday nights on Clubhouse called Black and Disabled AF. And man, we had some OGs on there Friday. About one was like 60, one was like 70. So they was talking about like, the disparities that they had to face before the civil rights movement, before the ADA movement. And it was just, yeah, man. So it's powerful. So, if you're on Clubhouse, if you heard about it or whatever, tap in. And yeah, man, just follow us. And I think I'm excited to hear what you got to say today, but I would love for you to be involved in any of those type of conversations.
Awesome. That's my commitment to you is one day this week at 5 a.m. I will jump on with you, and we're going to take this open spaces to Clubhouse as well.
All right. So I do Tuesdays and Thursdays already scheduled, April. So, you get that around that time and you can jump in with me. I mean, it's powerful. So
that's my commitment this week. Okay, so Amy, you rock and roll. Love you, Queen. Thank you. So let's give you all some time to introduce yourselves. Like, you are amazing Black men in my eyes. I know you guys personally and professionally and through your partners, tell all the wives hello and everything. Bill, welcome to the platform. I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself. And I think you heard, we talked about where you're from. I love the fact that you guys represent the country. So Bill, I'm going to give all of you a 2-minute time to introduce yourselves and share a bit about you and let us know what you do.
Great. Hello, everyone. Bill Generett, born here in Pittsburgh, grew up in a Point Breeze section of Pittsburgh, left in 1989, swore I'd never come back, but did come back. Spent a lot of time in Atlanta, went to Morehouse College, and Emory Law School. Then lived in D.C. for 5 years, Japan for a year. Came back here in 2007 and have done a variety of things since I've been back. Owned a business, ran a nonprofit. Currently, I'm working as the Senior Vice President of Civic Engagement and External Relations at Duquesne. So, what that means is I'm over sort of community engagement and volunteerism, the university, over government affairs, and so our lobbying efforts, and then over corporate and foundation relations. Also have a side business with my wife where we do some consulting. Love this city, but understand the challenges and work every day to try to hopefully make it a better place for all.
Yeah, we appreciate your efforts, and you're definitely a Black man in leadership. So, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna take it along. Andre is sitting next to you on my screen, so you have your 2 minutes right now, sir.
All right. Well, I don't know if I need 2 minutes. 30 seconds, I'm good. But hey, everyone. Andre Samuel here. I was born in Germany. My father was a military, African American Black man, and my mom was a local German woman. And after my two sisters and I came to the U.S., I grew up in D.C. So I was raised by a single mom in DC. I was adopted once I got to the States. And once I finished high school in DC, I went through DC public schools the entire way. I went off to Tuskegee University and was a pre-vet major with the initial goal of becoming a veterinarian. And I switched career goals had some ups and downs, some major downs, and then eventually made it back to school. And I actually graduated with my Bachelor's of Science from the University of the District of Columbia, which is a very small HBCU in DC that a lot of people don't know. Most people think Howard is the only HBCU in DC. And then from there, worked in research for a number of years, including vaccine trials and infectious disease. And then came to Pittsburgh, got my PhD in biology from Duquesne University. And now I run a nonprofit that focuses on exposing people of color, children of color in our community, and people all across the region to science and the wonders of science, with the goal of getting them interested in a science career.
That's awesome. I have Chaz next to you, Andre, and I'm a mute because my black dog is barking.
Yeah, my dog will probably find his way up here too at some point.
fits right into our conversation here, April. Well, good morning, everyone. First of all, I just want to thank you all for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Chaz Kellem. He, him, his are my pronoun choices. And I'm a Pittsburgher, born and raised here. This is home for me. I have both my degrees are from regional institutions, and I love this town. I think it's a little big city that has a lot to offer, like a major city, but on a lot smaller of a scale. And it has been my journey and my commitment to make this region better for people that come after me, and continue to provide opportunities and support those that are ahead of me, right? I believe it's a journey, and we support each other. Currently, right now, I work at the University of Pittsburgh in a very similar role to Bill, actually. I'm in the student affairs side, where I'm overseeing the Office of Pitt Serves, where we provide our University of Pittsburgh students meaningful and ethical service experiences, really focus on that community engagement piece, right? Trying to make sure that our young people understand the value of being a good neighbor, right? Yes, you can clean up the neighborhood. Yes, you can plant trees, but what's it really mean to be a good neighbor, right? That's a whole process. And our institutions of higher education are providing great academics, but it's our jobs to make them the best neighbor, the best person that they can be outside of that curriculum of learning. I'm honored and humbled by my career journey, and I've been lucky enough to work at some nonprofits, be on some boards. I say all that to just share with you, I really love this town, and I think we've come a long way, but we have a lot way to go to make the city better for all of us to thrive and all of us to be successful. So looking forward to the conversation today.
Thank you for that. And then, hi, Quincy.
Good morning. Good morning.
It's your 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Quincy Stephenson, and I've been living in Pittsburgh now for 10 years, right at 10 years. I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee. And to echo what Chaz just noted, I've lived here long enough to see the growth in this city. And I think it's reflective of our nation as well, in reference to how far we've come and how much more work that there is that's needed. My background is in mental health. When I came to Pittsburgh, it was for an opportunity to advance my career in mental health, and I've been able to do that here in Pittsburgh. I remember when I first moved here, I said I would stay for 2 years. And 2 years have long since passed. At this point, I am currently alongside with Bill at Duquesne University, and I'm a part of the Counseling and Wellbeing Center. My position is the outreach coordinator. I'm able to provide therapy, talk therapy, counseling to students, and I'm also responsible for a lot of the outreach opportunities on campus. And I am finishing up my doctorate degree in the counseling, psychology, and special education department in counseling, education, and supervision.
Thank you. And Wes, I'm gonna tag team and give it to you if you want to give a short intro. I know he and I have been doing this. We do this together, you guys. This is our initiative together, our monthly Sunday Safe Spaces. And Wes, I'll give you the mic, and you can start with the discussion if you have a first question in mind for you guys.
Yeah. So what's up, everybody? Wesley Hamilton. So I'm a speaker, athlete, model, and I am a Black man living with a disability. I am the founder and CEO of the Disabled But Not Really Foundation, a nonprofit organization in Kansas City, Missouri. So no biases to the Chiefs, please.
I wasn't going to go there, Wes. You can't do that on this call, man. You can't do that, Wes.
Hey, you know what? It's all right, because every
I thought we was going to keep it peaceful.
Every month.
You don't need to win that to do this. You have to win that Super Bowl.
That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, man. Honestly, just my story is a powerful one, and I try to gravitate and make sure that I impact the communities that I represent with it in a positive manner. So really, I'm just happy to have you guys on here. I'm happy to start this conversation. So yeah, I can start it for sure. I feel like when we had our brief convo the other day, we were talking about areas in our cities, and so for me, I think it'll be nice to just kind of start there. Maybe with those that are natives from Pittsburgh first, really talking about how did the areas. How did certain areas in Pittsburgh, are they still there, right? That has created more hardships, right, for the impact that you're trying to create. So I have, for instance, in Kansas City, we have a certain area, they have zip codes. They call them, life zones or life codes. And so what areas, but those are the areas that are the roughest areas in town. So really speaking from those that don't know about Pittsburgh, right? Like, of course, you guys have amazing accomplishments and things, and even like in the DC area, because I didn't know about that college at all, at all. But I want us to be transparent and not only just talk about the accomplishments, but communities. Like, what did you have to face to even reach like where you are? And then what makes you stay there to do the things that you're doing? Because you're in nonprofit work. That means you're trying to serve others. You're trying to create change. So like what from your upbringing, how did that make you stay where you are? Or even those that came into Pittsburgh for 2 years, right, Quincy? Like, what made you stay, right? What gravitated you to stay? Because everybody's on here speaking what we're all speaking right now, and that's trying to create change for the communities you represent. So I know that was kind of like a broad, but like literally, let's speak about your upbringing, or like once you got into Pittsburgh, and like what did that do for you once you started to see those communities that needed the work, and why you started to be involved in that work. There we go. And any let's say Chaz, like I would say Chaz, you start, yeah.
Okay, I got you, Wes. So first of all, thanks for the question. So I want to take this from a framework that oftentimes when we look at Black communities, traditionally we look at the deficits in those communities. I teach our students and I teach those around me to look at the assets of those communities. Our communities, in which are fueled with lots of positive energy and great work being done in them, often are misrepresented by our city as having lots of deficits, but there's lots of great things happening in those spaces. I was born and raised in the Hill District, predominantly Black community. I love my community. I want to go back to my community, but I don't look at it as just what I can do for that community. I want to work with those communities and help do what I can and help build them up. So I look at it from the assets versus the deficits, and I want to work alongside with the leadership of those spaces to help figure out what they need, right? We can't allow outsiders to come in, do these one and dones, think they're making an impact, think they're changing the world, and be out, right? I want people that are going to come in, build some roots, showcase their commitment, stay a while, build people up, and then we figure out together what we can do to make change in those spaces.
I have a piggyback question on that, and we can, go on to Andre and Bill and Quincy. For you guys, we did talk a lot about like redlining. We talked about the history of the cities that we all come from and that we've all experienced. DC, Maryland has it, Atlanta has it, even though Atlanta is primarily Black, but there's like Southwest Atlanta, there's Cascade, there's Gwinnett, there's Memphis, Tennessee, but also within your communities, you guys, I see as Black male leaders, but also who was that Black male leader for you, and how did Black male leadership influence you to be where you are? So I will, give that to Andre, and then I would love to hear all of you guys respond to that.
I was going to say let Andre answer that question, because I see a Black man smile. That's real big. Like, I need that. So yeah, let's hear it.
Well, I smile because when you said who was that Black male leader for me, I like two names popped in, and they're very iconic. One is a very iconic name. I mean, I grew up in DC. I was a child of Marion Barry, and I was adopted by a single Black woman. I did not have positive Black, male role models in my life for the most part. So it was Marion Barry in the sense that he was the leader of a city, of Chocolate City, because that's DC's nickname, right? And yes, he had his downs for sure, and he fell hard. But I can tell you, under the administration of Marion Barry, I always had a summer job, and I always had a summer job that was productive. I had a summer job that prepared me for the mentoring that I do now, because in DC, there are recreation centers in every neighborhood. You go 2-3 blocks and you find another recreation center for that particular neighborhood. And what he did was he hired all the kids in that neighborhood to go into those recreation centers where we played to become mentors and counselors for the younger kids in those neighborhoods. So I always had a job. And he did a lot for the city. For us, we really felt like he was a mayor for Blacks in the city of DC. The other person would be my big brother. And I mean, my mother got me a big brother as a big brother of America. And his name was Bill Beavers. And he was a Q. He was a substance abuse counselor. He lived in Southeast DC. Was a pretty humble man, but humble means, but like was sharp and was a very, very positive influence in my life. So those were the two Black males that were very, very influential in my life growing up. That was it for me. Yeah.
That's powerful. How about you, Bill?
How about me? So I guess I'll take it back, right? We want to talk about segregation in Pittsburgh. I tell people I grew up in Point Breeze. Well, I grew up in what was called North Point Breeze, right? There's Penn Avenue, which was sort of the line of demarcation, right, between Point Breeze and sort of North Point Breeze. And North Point Breeze was majority Black. Our property values are probably 50% of what they were across the street. And I remember, I was railing on sort of the change of the name from East Liberty to East Side. So in Pittsburgh, we do a really good job of changing names of communities to raise the value. And somebody said to me, they said, well, Bill, North Point Breeze used to be Homewood, right? And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't know that, right? So I in some respects, I'm a product of, gentrification and segregation. But when we talk about communities, I remember when Homewood was a thriving community, right? I knew Homewood before the gang violence and the rise of the crack epidemic, right? And so, even though I quote unquote, grew up in what was called North Point Breeze, it was really Homewood, right? And it was a strong community. It's a community that's coming back now, but one thing I tell people is make sure that you understand history and why things are the way they are, because you'll have people that are newcomers that'll come, and they come in any city and they say, well, wow, look at this community. And the thought is that the community was always like that. And in many cases, especially our Black communities, they weren't, right? They were intervening factors, right? Whether it was job loss, whether it was gang violence, whether it was drugs, right? We were like the canary in the coal mine for the city that lost a lot of jobs. So yeah, that's what I'm a product of. And I, am just proud that somebody will pay me to, work on these problems in collaboration with great people. And so that's my passion, in some respects, how can we rebuild our neighborhoods to what they were, right? And, and make them better. But, we took a steep fall. And so that's where I come from in terms of neighborhoods.
And for you, who exemplified like Black male leadership for you?
Sure. I was fortunate. I had a lot of Black male role models. So starting with my dad, he was a doctor here, OB-GYN, and he was a part of a wave of Black doctors, right? That Pittsburgh had that they don't have now, right? Mm-hmm. This was in the 80s. I mean, it was 6, 7, 8 just Black OB-GYNs, right? And so one of the things my dad did was make sure to expose me to a lot of Black men. So I met Black lawyers, Black judges, Black teachers, Black professors. I would say that my number one role model behind my dad was a person named George Houston, who worked in the steel mills, his entire life until he lost his job in the 80s. But when my parents were busy getting their degrees, it was him and his family who really took care of me. And, George, I got a chance to see this strong Black man who did incredible things, really sort of lose his sense of self when the steel mills left. And so that's something else that motivates me, because we just saw a lot of people who lost their way. Our economy crashed.
Thank you for sharing that. And that's a beautiful reflection and shows the power of influence when you have someone that you can look to and there's a representation of who you are in essence as well.
Go ahead.
Can
I just say something on that point? There's a recent data point that just came out at the National Survey of Earned Doctorate Award doctorates that have been awarded that highlights that very point. And it showed that 40% of people who obtained a PhD in the sciences and people of color or not of color were people who had people in their family that had a doctorate degree or an advanced degree prior to that. So it really goes to show and back up. Now we have data that shows that when we see what what we can become, we have more ideas of what we can become as a people and what we can do.
Yes, thank you for that, Andre. And that is exactly what we are doing with this right here. And I thank you guys for putting yourselves out there for those who don't get to see it, because we stand in the gap for that. Quincy, we would love to hear your story, Pittsburgh and Memphis, Tennessee.
Absolutely. Well, when I think about our communities, I think about the racism that we've always been up against and how we as a people, Black folk, have always been able to, through our resilience and our pride, be able to do more with less in reference to our communities being stripped of resources. So from that standpoint, Chaz, I loved how you talked about the pride in our communities. And Bill, I love how you talked about the history of our communities and knowing that history, because in many instances, a lot of our communities were thriving. Yes. And specifically because of systemic racism, were stripped of their resources. So, of course, whenever you strip a community of resources, lack of education, food deserts, poverty is going to set in. And from that standpoint, a lot of the problems are going to set in. So for me, seeing a lot of poverty in Memphis, seeing poverty in some of the cities that I've been in, and knowing the influence of poverty and how it influences our stress level and how it influences our mental health. That's one of the reasons why I'm in the field that I'm in, and that's mental health is one of the reasons that I strive to do what I can in my role for the community. I'm considered to be a unicorn, and we all are to a certain extent. Black, as Black folk, we're used to being the only one in the room. What was very influential for me, though, I would say, is of course, my dad, as Bill noted, and I would also say the Black church as an entity. Growing up down south in the Bible Belt, I was able to be exposed to leadership by way of the Black church that was influential to me, and it was important for me to be able to see representation of Black male leadership, because in so many instances we don't get an opportunity to see that. Andre was bringing up the 40% of folks that get their PhDs, somebody in the family already having it. I think the percentage for Black teachers, Black male teachers, from K going up is around 2%. So that simply means that most folks can count on their hand the number of Black male teachers that they've had in their life. So in reference to education, and of course we're talking about poverty, if I'm not being taught in a way where I'm being loved, and if 18% of students represent Black students, and half of the students being suspended are Black males, I'm set up from the gate in the school system. And because I'm set up from the gate in reference to my education, now I'm being pushed into the prison to pipeline situation. So from that standpoint, representation is just highly important. It's important that we continue to push in reference to policy, in reference to culture, because we've always had a resilience about ourselves. But it's going to take all of us. It's going to take more than just changing some of these policies. It's going to have to be a whole culture change for us to continue to push the fight forward that we need.
You guys said two things, and I'll give it to you, Leslie. Stripped of our resources, and I think of Black men being a resource to the Black community that's been stripped. And that is reflected, like Quincy said, in our educational system. That's reflected in our prison system when we look at the density of Black men and Black women, but we're talking about Black men in our prison system. That is a resource that has been taken from us. And then also mental health. And I would love for you guys to share on that. Wesley, you had muted.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you guys for your input. It was all solid, and actually a lot of even some things that I learned as a person that grew up without leadership. My life led to, the mindset of me ended up acquiring my disability, and so, yeah, man, it's very important, and representation matters. So I have a question. As we talk about, the representation, we're adding that within, like, before we hit the mental health, because I think this can kind of help. Why do you, and we can say two of you guys can answer it. But why is it important for companies and organizations to harness the power of diversity right now and allow that conversation to be included for the understanding of role models and leaders and start to fill in those seats?
I'll just be real quick on that. Companies want to be the best, right? And if you just have one group making decisions, you're not going to be the best. right? I mean, I think about, Duquesne, right? The university is so much better because it has Quincy, right? Quincy sees things that others don't see. Quincy's able to provide, array of counseling tools that others can't provide, right? And this is just isn't for Black students, it's for all students, right? Me being in my position, I'm able to see things and do things that they could never do. I've got connections and networks that they never have. I mean, you look at Dr. Samuel, he's able to reach kids, and not just Black kids, Black, white, green kids, in ways that nobody else could, right? You look at Chaz and just all the things, and I'm a big fan of yours. I mean, just from the Pirates. I mean, you're able to, your lens, your different lenses makes whatever organization you're with so much better. And so, it's a total asset. It's a total win for these companies, right? It's not handouts. It's not, helping us. It's actually helping them.
Shout out to this group. I mean, what a powerful group here, right? I want to say that, right? I will say that to Wes, to your question, companies can't do it with fakeness either, right? We know so many companies out there that are doing it for pretend. When we lost more Black people in the summer due to violent acts, something changed because it had to. It wasn't new to us, but many of these companies kind of woke up and recognized the fact that they need to do more. DE&I isn't enough anymore. We got to go above and beyond in order to make significant change. Don't hire me because I'm a Black dude. Don't hire me because I'm a person with a disability, right? I'm going to go into that place and I'm going to flip it upside down. And some people are going to love that. Some people are going to hate that. But I'm authentically me and I'm unapologetically me, right? And you get in the whole me when I come into that institution or organization. So what I mean by that is companies can't do this fake or phony. They have to be authentic. They have to be transparent. And they have to do the hard work in order to make change. And there is a business case, as Bill pointed out, for DE&I in all companies, no matter what brand or business you're in. There is a significant business case, whether we're helping the bottom line, we're creatively generating more revenue, whatever it is, there are definitely business cases for this work.
I would like to add just that our Blackness comes with this enormous amount of creativity that we are able to tap into. And if you just look at the history that is often glossed over or just forgotten, we as Black men and women have been inventors and creators as long as we have been around. And we often have done many things in the forefront way before white counterparts that have gotten credit for. I mean, Jenner is getting credit for creating or being the father of vaccination, but we know it was not Jenner who was the first person to ever practice vaccination. We know that it was an enslaved man from Africa that did that. We know that optics, the study of optics, first originated in the Middle East and over in Egypt, not here, not over in Europe and where white people existed and controlled everything. So many times, I think that organizations are afraid to let us in because we're going to do just like Chaz said we're going to do. It's going to be a shakeup, and it's not an intentional shakeup. You know what I'm saying? I can't help the fact that every time I turn around, I am thinking of some way to solve a problem, but that's what we do. And we probably do it so well because we're constantly trying to solve problems from the day we're put on this earth, right? When it comes to just being a Black man or a Black woman, you're faced with figuring out how you're going to get through this mess one way or another, right? And that's just what we do. So you also gain an enormous amount of creativity. I think that, you get people who are thinking outside of your normal way of thinking, and that's where creativity comes. And that's where success comes.
Yes, I love that, Andre. There's my dog again.
He liked that too, huh? He was like, "Yeah, you tell him, Dre. You tell him."
No, so I know that we was going to go right into mental health, but I wanted to make sure that we added that part, because when we talk about mental health, I think it's important to make sure that without these conversations held in the workplace, it is conflicting the mental health of their Black counterparts and their Black employees. Because if you don't understand, and we've known, it's like the George Floyd situation, everyone's coming to work traumatized on that Monday, and you can't even have a conversation, and you're trying to think that they're supposed to, give you 100%, and they can barely give you 20 because they got to go home and explain to their kids how this was on everything and all this, and then, cry with their moms and dads and grandpas and grandmas because it's the same history repeating itself, right? So that's where I wanted, because I thought that everybody should speak of why we are important assets in companies, so that we can give them a different perspective that brings value, but also a better understanding. So because there are so many Black issues in America, you got to understand that we come in with just not our color, but we come in with everything and all this adversity on our backs too. So that is where I kind of want to lean into the mental health part. And April, you can hit your question, but just really want us to, break that ice.
That would, this is Quincy's field. And this is something that I think is really important to talk about, especially as Black men. Like, you guys represent a sector and a culture that we're not allowed to show weakness, and we're not allowed to be vulnerable, because then it affects us in the workplace, it affects us in the home, it affects us in the community. So Quincy, it's on, we would love to hear from you about Black men and mental health, and hear from all of you about how you're able to sustain your resilience and sustain your mental health.
Absolutely. And Wes, I love that you, I think that the George Floyd situation, how it impacted all of us in reference to mental health, that's something that's absolutely something that needs to be spoken to, in reference to racial stress, racial trauma, and Black men specifically. What tends to happen is, in April, as you just echoed, we tend to hold it in, and there tends to be this because we're not at the top of the list of quote unquote suicide or whatnot. This thought process that the Black men are so resilient, which we are, which is great. And at the same time, when it comes to life expectancy, the life expectancy rate of Black men, in reference to the CDC, who's dying the fastest, which population of folks? Women are outliving us on average by 10 years. White men are outliving us by an average of 5 years. And Black men are dying. We're checking out faster than everybody else. And a part of that is because we don't have, when we talk about racial battle fatigue, it's difficult to fight and heal at the same time. It's possible, but it's possible because that's what we do. And it's difficult because it tears us down faster. So with that being said, it's important for us to promote our healing. It's important for us to promote our well-being. And a part of that for men specifically is being in spaces where we can be vulnerable. Being in spaces where we can talk about how I really felt about watching what happened to George Floyd, and having an opportunity to be uncompromisingly angry about it, and able to voice my frustration of hurt without the thought of, if I do that, I'm likely to lose my job. And unfortunately, because of many of us being the only in our environments, because we have been under this culture of having to hold it in, having to be strong, having to hold it together, having to make sure that the wheels on the bus keep going round and round, that we don't stop. I got to make sure that this is in place. I got to make sure that this is in place. I got to make sure the kids are okay. I got to make sure the lights are still on. We don't stop. And our bodies begin to stop physically, literally, in reference to heart conditions and all of the other stuff that comes with that. Our bodies literally begin to stop. So from that standpoint, of course, I can't be on this panel and not say that it's important to go to therapy. That's number one. Black men are therapists. Black men do go to therapy. I know because I've seen them. So that's number one. Number two, living a life of well-being and taking the time to invest in what no one can take from you. And that's your mind, your body, and your spirit. For those of you that may not be spiritual, your mind, your body, and what your truth is. No one can take that away from you. And being intentional about investing in that. Stay connected to people that can connect with who you are in reference to your identity and your truth. There's healing just by us getting together as Black folk and just talking about what we go through. There's healing in that within itself. But I really just want to promote intentionality around living a life of well-being and not holding it in when this stuff happens. That is reflective of racial trauma and reflective of racial stress, because what the research says is when we say to ourselves, well, that's just the way the world is, or if we say to ourselves, well, this happened and you know what, it's just the norm. That's the way things are always going to happen. It tears our mood down even more. So those are just some of my initial thoughts. But I know others have thoughts as well.
Yeah, and I would love, we have about 10 more minutes and we can, we want to honor your time, but we can definitely spend a little extra time too. I would love to have all of you share in any way you feel comfortable in doing so about how you are able to take care of yourself. What do you do? Because all of you are in leadership and you all do have a level of success. And I do want all of you all to live the 10 years that I'm going to live longer than you. To hear me fuss at him about ways that I want him to do so. However, no, honestly, like we all need each other and we do want longevity of life, not just for us, but for our future generations and the generations coming after that. So if you all can please share a little bit of that, that would be wonderful.
I'll be brief. I'm that Black man who was on a path to die at 65, right? Didn't exercise, had high blood pressure, high cholesterol. I remember probably 10 years back, I had a sore throat, went to the emergency room, and the doctor was like, they put me on the blood pressure machine. They were like, we don't give a damn about your stroke, your throat. You're about to stroke out. I'm like, but can you look at my throat? They were like, we don't care about your throat. Your blood pressure is in stroke range, right? And so, I've had fits and starts with health, but it came to a head for me with George Floyd, right? It was like every Black man, I was at the boiling point, right? And I was like, there are two ways to go. Am I going to internalize this and have it combust before, I'm 65, right? But what I started doing is I of course, started talking to my close friends. I started walking. And next thing you know, I was walking 10 miles a day. 5 in the morning, 5 at night. I've lost 30 pounds, and of course can't do that in the winter, but I've done that. I've also put my boundaries. My job is not to teach white people how to not be racist, right? And I 100%, when those conversations, racism is your problem. Mm-hmm. Y'all need to get together a little group to fix it. I'll work over here on the structure and with Black people and others, but my job is not to fix you, because far as I'm concerned, that's something wrong, something that you need to fix. It has nothing to do with me. And so just setting those boundaries.
Oh, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And I really thank you for sharing that walking, because when I talk with clients, and Wes is in fitness and wellness as well, people think I have to work out, I have to starve myself, I have to do all these things to be fit. And something as simple as walking has incredible benefits. And as you say, you see results of that. You're in that fat burning state, and then your mindset is clear. That is also a mindfulness activity. So, Bill, first of all, congratulations, and two, thanks for sharing.
Thank you. And you've been such a positive just influence. I mean, for my wife, and so just thanks for being that shining light for health and wellness.
I'm there. Thank you for that. All right, who wants to share next?
I'll go ahead and go next. So thank you, Quincy, for really talking about mental health. I mean, I want to thank everybody for talking about it, because I think it's very important. I'll say, look, my therapy appointment is tomorrow at 12 p.m.
Yeah.
Right? So and so that has to be real for me. I've been going to therapy for a very long time, for many, many years. I had to. I recognized that very early on, that even though I had all this potential and all this great energy, I also had a lot of darkness and clouds with me that were keeping me from reaching that full potential. I had a lot of anger. I had to process that. I told y'all a little bit about my story. That was just the tip of the iceberg. But I also have to say that, we as a people have to understand that there is no stigma behind going to therapy. And that therapy really is about having someone sit there and listen to everything that you're going through and to help you process it. And not to necessarily, give you like, you should do this, or, let's put you on medication, because, that is not what mental health and therapy is really about. It's about being able to get out truthfully, honestly, something that you're going through to someone without any judgment. And there is no better feeling in the world than that. And if you can't find it in your significant other, then, find it in your therapist. And I would encourage you to I mean, look, I have sometimes come home and my wife and just like started bawling in her lap because of what I've been going through. It is okay to show that vulnerability, right? Quincy talked a lot about how resilient we are and how we go through the day with our sword and shield, and we're just bam, 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 knocking through things, right? Just knocking through. But at some point, something will happen that is going to break us down. And it's okay you got to have somebody to be able to be comfortable to be that breakdown, and have that breakdown in front of, whether it be your therapist or someone very, very close. For me, it's my therapist and it's my wife. Okay. But I think it's important for us to recognize and realize that just recently data has come out that has shown that life expectancy for people in general has shortened. But what is even more significant, that it has gone down 2.7 years. Life expectancy for African Americans has been cut by 2.7 years, almost 3 years, versus I think it was 1 or 1.2 for white Americans or something like that. So everybody has had a drop, but we've had the most significant drop. And we have to be aware of that data. I've been lucky enough where I have been able to take care of myself physically for a long time and mentally for a long time. But it is something that is an ongoing process. You don't stop this. Yeah. You don't stop it. Use it or lose it. That's my my philosophy. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And educating and having data and knowledge is the basis for us to really understand and know what we need to do, where we need to go, and how we can improve. So thank you for sharing that statistic, and thank you for being vulnerable in this space. Appreciate that, Andre. All right, Chaz.
Wow, powerful words from everybody. Thanks, Quincy, for this very important topic. First, I think it's important to recognize and acknowledge our spouses, our wives, our network of support, whoever you go to for support, right? Shout out to them, because they get us at our best and our worst, all right? So shout out to them. I also think it's important to recognize that as Black men, we are also parents, some of us, brothers, spouses, friends, professionals. And as mentioned in multiple different ways, that's a lot. And this is hard, right? This living right now as a Black man is simply hard. To echo Andre, my therapy appointments every 2 weeks on Wednesday. I'm there regularly. I don't play. I don't miss that because I believe I can't be of impact to anyone else if I don't got my stuff taken care of, right? I also practice a variety of small things to impact my mental health. I do social media cleanses. I step away from that. I journal, right? I write. I have, notepad where I write down my thoughts, throw it away as another way to get it out there. I take time to celebrate. I have a journal where I recognize 3 things that I'm grateful for each day, and I document that, right? So I take big things and small things to impact my mental health and make myself right, the best right that I can be. I will tell you, though, that this is a learned practice as a young adult, right? We weren't taught this as I'll speak for myself. I wasn't taught this as a kid. There was that stigma that surrounded mental health that I had to figure out was okay to admit to, right? I also think that it takes resources sometimes to take care of yourself, right? So, healthy foods cost more. Exercise equipment costs. Now, yes, there's way you can get around that, but recognizing that some of the history of our communities have given us even roadblocks to take care of ourselves.
Right.
So we need to make sure that we're supporting others in that journey. So, Bill, when you go for that walk, grab your neighbor. When I'm going to hoop, I'm going to get one of my Black brothers from the community, right? I'm making sure that I'm pulling somebody with me on that journey to make sure that we're making a commitment to health together.
That was good. That's powerful. Thank you, Chaz. Thank you so much for sharing that and all of those. I love that you guys are sharing your experiences because this is what we teach, but this is what you guys are doing. And that's powerful. It's like putting them into practice and showing you're reflecting how that's benefiting yourselves and the community. Wes, what about you?
All right, cool. Hey, thank you guys for sharing. Powerful, everybody. Bill, congratulations, brother. I didn't start exercising until I got paralyzed, and it became something that changed my life, and so I know what's possible. So, man, don't give up. You're already on that journey, man. Keep going. So I just want to tell you that's amazing.
Thank you. I didn't start until I was 49, so from 13 to 49, there was a little gap there. So I got a long way to go. So there's no.
Hey, but you already started, here. You already started. So for me, like Chaz said, it's a journey, right? Like I was a negative person before I became a positive person. I have to do a lot of things that practice my mental health. Number one is I read a lot. I found that reading kind of frees me in many ways because I can read stories that allows me to keep my faith and allows me to keep believing. And so reading, journaling. So like Chaz said, so I'm a fan of the journal too, brother. I got my 5-minute journal right here, where I practice my gratitude every day. And the things that I am thankful for, as well as got my affirmation journal. So every day I practice affirmations, and that allows me to be vulnerable because those affirmations are powerful, and when you speak in those things, you're releasing certain things and you're believing and putting more things inside of you. So, and then really, of course I serve. So I make sure I give back. I make sure I pour into others' cups and fill their cups up. I found that that's been something amazing for me, especially just a Black man, right? Like we face so much adversity. Sometimes we can go our whole life thinking that we need things. And the only thing that we need to do is give back to somebody else, and be grateful for that. And so I think that's something that's been clear for me on the clarity wise. And then, of course, I host a lot of different groups. So I host groups about affirmations and being grateful. And what I found is that those groups has allowed me to heal because I start hearing other people's stories and experiences, and their vulnerability allows me to be more grateful. So, yep.
Thank you for that. Quincy, What do you do? And as a mental health professional, like, what have you found that are some of the better practices that people can do? And I think we've heard them.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to, before I make a statement, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Like I'm just full, listening to everyone. I'm full right now. So before I continue, I just want to say thank you to everyone for sharing. For me, I tried to stay connected to my faith from a spiritual standpoint. When I am hurting and confused, faith tends to make room for hope, and it adds meaning to my lack of understanding. So staying connected to my faith, staying connected to my spirituality. I'm glad that you all are really promoting physical activity, and it doesn't have to be anything like rigorous. There's research to back this up. Physical activity helps to decrease low mood by 5%, sometimes even 10%. So I tried to get some physical activity in at least once per week. And I tried to also, Chaz, you were talking about this, but I'm a firm believer in staying connected to our village. And those are ones that are around us that support us when we need support. And from a professional standpoint, I try to stay connected to my mentor in reference to mental health and supervision, and making sure that as a therapist that I'm getting the support that I need to be the therapist that others deserve. Just some, I think everyone really hit on some of the major things that we can do from a healing. I'll go to what you said, Wes, in reference to also sometimes our healing is being advocates and social justice advocates for others as well. So just being in that space and helping to provide that space, that helps as well. But I really feel like you all really hit on a lot of the things that we need in reference to promoting our own healing and promoting our own well-being. I can't say it enough. I'll just say it again one more time. The only thing that I'll say to end with is just don't hold it in. Don't internalize it. Because when we hold it in, it's only going to grow on the inside. Just talking about this stuff helps to release the weight.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Amen.
So much. Yes. Like my cup is full too. I honor all of you, and I'm so thankful. Like, you have all touched my life and my family's life in big ways, small ways, huge ways. And as Wes shared before, we're going to do this again. If you guys would be, we would be honored. Most of our talks have been an hour, and we barely, take a little chip out of the iceberg. So if you're open and willing to do a part 2 in a few months, we would love to have you.
Always, I'm always here for you.
Definitely. Thank you. Thanks
and let's have a book. We always have a book that we want to share.
Always. I'm hyped about it because, man, Chaz Sands, if you guys haven't heard about him, he's making some buzz right now. Book came out February 2nd. It's called Black Magic, What Black Leaders Learn from Trauma and Triumph. And it really has the same conversation that we're having right now. He went to Google, worked in Google. He went to Morehouse. So he talks about the difference of like going to a private school to going Morehouse, where he could embrace his blackness. The interviews on here are powerful from people, just how they had to, hey man, I'm Black Magic. So anybody wants to read, it's a new book that just came out. I highly recommend it. And yeah, man, thank you guys for everything today. I am full as well. This makes Sundays amazing. So thank you, April, for
Got it.
Hey.
Bam, found it. Yep.
Love it. Yes, we'll do this again. And like I said, this was something that you gave your time of, and it's also something that we're very thankful that people have invested in this. And Bill, it's like you said, this is about us healing us. We learn, and data shows, I taught Spanish bilingual education for years. We learn better in our primary language and our primary culture. And then you have transference from there. So it's really important that those who are allies do their work in allyship in their communities. And it's important for us to heal. And that's why we had one for Black women, we have one for Black men, because there's an intersection, of course, of us all being Black, but it's important that you have your space. And so I honor you and thank you for that. And I appreciate you, and we'll do it again. Anyone else have any last closing words?
Just thank you. This has been an honor, and I'm always looking forward to having all of us together. I mean, this is always a wonderful thing, always. Thank you for putting this together.
You're so welcome. One day, maybe we'll be in person.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I cannot wait.
Yes.
Seriously, but I would tell everybody, if y'all on Clubhouse, hey, get on it. If you're not on Clubhouse, hop on the app, follow us on Clubhouse, and we can have these same conversations on there. And we can do it anytime when we're all alone and just really just bring a tribe. So
yeah.
Right.
Clubhouse, if you're not on it. But thank you guys. Appreciate you. Have an amazing day. I'm not going to talk about my Chiefs, but
Gotta have the last word, right?
Yeah. Acting out here.
All right, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Take care,
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Stay safe, all.
Thank you for joining us and listening to the podcast. If you would like more information on the guests and the stories that you've heard today, and to hear stories from others, subscribe to the podcast. We also invite you to subscribe to Open Up Pittsburgh's newsletter, as well as our YouTube channel. We want you all to take care, and remember to make your own stories. This is April. Peace.